Thoughts on RAW files. Everyone's got an opinion on this topic, just like everybody's got a backlog that they're gonna get to eventually. I'm photog, wedding videographer, yeagershots from photo17.com. And there's times I've handed out my RAW files from sessions and times that you might wanna do that as well. I'll get to those in a second. Let's clarify this real quick. With photography, talking still photos, okay? RAW is a file format that gives you far more latitude when editing said file. In video, RAW is a file format that gives you far more latitude when editing said file. The brand Red or like Blackmagic cameras shoot video in RAW. We're gonna focus on the wedding field right here today. When someone says, I want the raw footage, I can guess that they mean unedited video, but language and contract matters, and depending on who you're talking to, RAW has its actual technical meaning. So I'm shooting this right here in what we call a log picture profile, which is not the same as RAW, but unedited, it looks and sounds like this. Not exactly what you want, so there still has to be some curation with video, even though it's raw footage. Ooh, boy, that can get confusing. And with actual raw files for photos or video and all the codecs with video, you have to have the software and the hardware to actually be able to view those files. So that's one more reason why you probably may not really want raw anything, except for maybe like sushi. Even though all sushi's not raw. I know all sushi isn't raw. In some cases, clients can ask for raw files for photos and videos, not really fully aware what it is that they're asking for. I actually had someone wanting their raw files on a CD-ROM. They were not fully aware what in the world raw files were because they couldn't have pronounced raw files. I was curious. I was like, you wanted a CD-ROM? What do you have that plays CDs, video CDs now? And their response was, I don't know. To which my response was dead silence. And they never spoke with me again, so it's probably not the way to handle that situation. Learn from my mistakes. Now we have a wonderful gallery where you just instantly download your photos straight to your mobile device with raw footage or unedited footage, or still with photos too. With RAWs in general, clients can feel like they're missing something, like they're not getting their full session, which I promise you, if there is a good, cool shot, that thing is gonna be shared by anybody who operates a camera. They're never gonna hide cool shots, I promise. Pinky promise, but still a promise. You know what? Clients might actually have a point right here as far as getting unedited footage, because with edited video, I'm trying to tell a story and a narrative, but with that unedited footage, I might have a family member who otherwise would kind of get left out of the edited footage. Aunt Lucy, Uncle Johnny, back together in one place again. That could be truly valuable shots to have. And I completely, totally, 100% agree with having some raw, unedited video footage in that situation. I have the trusty phone here. I see this online from time to time on this raw topic. It is that the thought process that people who shoot raw can't work in JPEG, which that doesn't make any sense at all. You can shoot JPEG and RAW at the same time. But I think those are people who cannot edit in Lightroom, Photoshop, etc., and think that that's somehow a weird cheat. Let me tell you a thing about editing photos. If your base photo out the camera isn't something you can work with, it ain't happening. It's just not. So turn over a raw file to somebody who would not be used to working with a raw photo, where you can try to tame those highlights and maybe bring up those shadows and really work those two against each other and know exactly what they're doing to pull that off and not just crank the exposure up all the way and call it a day. That really does matter. That totally would affect the photographer, the shooter's intent. Of course, people edit people's other work all the time, but in those cases, hopefully a dialogue or something's gonna be in place where you can work together as a team, as a cohesive unit to get the final image across the finish line. Now, here we go. The situation, anecdotally speaking, I've handed over raw files, is when it's just been me and one model. We've worked on this shoot 50-50, and we've come to an agreement that works for both of us, so they can have their raw files. That is one case I've handed raw files over. Another case was a good friend of mine helped me out in a pinch. They got their raw files. But in all those cases, I was not too worried about, which I would be with a stranger, someone looking at a raw file, not shot and not meant to be the final image, and going, what is this? Because no one's gonna look at a raw photo that isn't edited right and be able to really say or understand, oh, that's just a raw file. Promise, that is definitely not how that's gonna go. It's gonna go, yeagershots does not take very good shots. But you certainly can sell raw photos, unedited video to clients, upcharge if you want, just include it if you want. In the US, the copyright law stays with the shooter, so you really don't have to worry about it from that standpoint in the US, that is. Honestly, there's no one answer that fits all. There's no one answer that fits every situation. There's no one answer that fits every person. One of those things you go about and figure out accordingly. Accordingly. Proceed accordingly. Proceed with caution. Feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about raw files, because everyone, and I mean everyone, has an opinion on raw files in the photography field, just like everybody has that backlog to get to. And I just realized I don't have a lens on this camera. Had I woken up from a cold sleep and wasn't able to get my shot on this 35 millimeter, what I have done? If you made it this far, you are a trooper. Hit that like button and subscribe to never miss a shot from old Yeager.